Well, greetings and thanks for joining Lightbulb Moments, episode number 127. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out past episodes of Lightbulb Moments, and we are live on YouTube. Also, stay tuned for the podcast version of Lightbulb Moments. I'm Tom Kuhn. I'm host and curator of Lightbulb Moments. At Cunity, we help take things from complicated, confusing and theoretical to simple, visual, and actionable for a clear path towards prosperity, whatever that means to you. And to prosper, remember to manage your ATM, your attention, time, and money, the three currencies that we have in life. And it's not lost on us that you're spending your precious attention and time with us. So thank you. We love hearing from you. Submit a light bulb moment of your own. Throw your hat in the ring to be a guest. Member of our brain trust, that is. Our last guest was while I was on vacation, and Erin did a Lightbulb Moments takeover with her Money O2 podcast, and she had a great guest, John Mosley. I wish I would have been able to attend live, but I will listen to the podcast when it comes out. So hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't, check it out both on Lightbulb Moments, and I believe Erin's going to offer this as a podcast. A couple things that really relate with the calendar and upcoming events. We have execution workshop coming up just in, I think, 2.5 weeks. It's not too late to sign up. We don't do this course very often. I think the next time we will do it will be after the first of the year, other than some private events we're doing and some virtual versions of Execution SBO. So it is coming up in the Twin Cities here, right by the airport. It's very easy to get in and out. And it is going to have most of our educators and coaches present for this version. So set up, it's not too late. During that session, we'll go through the 5 gaps of business, 8 seasons, 5 functions, 13 weeks. And also we will, excuse me a second here, take you through our execution process. This is a very timely discussion because of September. So we're going to talk about execution a little bit in a little bit here, but join us. Also, we have coming up in Atlanta, Georgia, we have a special session. It's an exit workshop. It really helps those that are thinking of their future, whether they're looking at becoming, entering as an owner or exiting as an owner or somewhere in between. It's really for businesses that want to be intentional about their grow and go strategy. We have a lineup of subject matter experts. I will be facilitating this session. Also, there's a bunch of research that's happening leading up to the session, including transactional research, which I've never seen in my entire tenure in the beauty industry, where we actually break down some of the numbers and transactions. I have some clients and former clients that have been generous in their sharing. So we're going to be sharing some very timely information that deals with valuations, trends. And again, we're going to have a tax expert, wealth management expert. This is a event that is on the day before the 2 to 10 conference. You can go to our website to learn more. Speaking of the 2 to 10 conference, this is for businesses that have between 2 and 10 locations. There's 8 reasons why you should attend 2 to 10. First of all, you have to be eligible to attend 2 to 10, and that is you have to have at least 2 locations and up to 10 locations. And you can go to Instagram and you can go to our website to learn about all the reasons to attend. For example, speakers, thought leaders, networking, collaboration, solutions, strategies, roundtables on all 5 functions: marketing, education, human capital, operations, and finance, access to data and trends, build community and your resources, as well as inspiration and renewed energy. All pretty good reasons. It is going to be, like I said, in Atlanta, Georgia. First time we've been there. We hope you will join us if you're eligible. All right. So what I want to do this week is do some things that are a little bit different. I want to really unpack this whole idea of a light bulb moment. And so I'm going to go off sharing the screen here. Okay. I want to talk about what is a light bulb moment. Then I want to talk a little bit more about the format of these sessions and to kind of recenter all of us. And then very specifically, the topic this week is a very, very good one and very, very timely. And it is September, the second new year, and the currency of time. All right. So I hope you enjoy this episode. First of all, let's talk about what is a light bulb moment. So a light bulb moment to me means something to each of us. There's no like a textbook definition, but I would define it as an inspiration, an idea, a thought, a realization, a connection that didn't previously occur. And it resembles a spark. So life is a series of moments. And we could say that these are different moments. They're a moment that has a special energy to it. It's a spark. And a spark can remain a spark, or it can turn into a fire, a wildfire. It can turn into something that could ignite massive, massive action. And I think in our lives, we all have what I would refer to as mega light bulb moments. And a mega light bulb moment, mega light bulb moment, there's no textbook definition of this, I'm going to give you my interpretation, is one that had those qualities of a special moment, an inspiration, an idea, connection, whatever. But it turns into massive, massive action and directional changes, or thrusts forward in a direction that you're already taken. Or it can cause a pause and say light bulb moments. Say, whoa, hold on here. The direction that I'm going or we're going isn't quite the right one. So a light bulb moment can result in a pause. There's some other ways to look at light bulb moments. I love the quote by Thoreau. That is, many have dated the beginning of a new era with the reading of a book. Well, many have dated the beginning of an era with a light bulb moment. And the other thing, I grew up in the Chicago area, and I have a big family and a family of brothers. And I had a brother that used to answer the phone. Normally, you'd pick up the phone and you say hello, and his response was, "This could change everything. Who's this?" That was before caller ID. So it's just that realization that change can come in an instant with a great idea. Having said that, we all know that the creative process or the idea is just one part of success and prosperity. And I believe it was Edison that said life is really about 1% inspiration, then 99% persistence. And the thing is, you can have all the great light bulb moments in the world, but you need to do the work. And Cunity really is founded on several success principles, including the importance of going from knowing to doing. We really love a community of doers. And speaking of that, one of the things that I want to make sure I don't forget to mention, the best way to take a light bulb moment forward is for many of us, certainly is for me, is to bring it on a 9 grid, because it'll create all these feelings, these thoughts, and these spin-off, and creating some structure and putting your light bulb moment on a 9 grid is a wonderful thing to do. So those that I admire are ones that have taken the light bulb moment and done something with it. So I just want to talk a minute about these podcasts and these episodes. So these episodes really invite you to take a pause midweek and allow the space for light bulb moments, and to be part of a community of growth-minded leaders, unsatisfied with the status quo. And I think we're all driven by making an impact. We do tend to attract those that really have the growth mindset and want to make an impact. Impact can be measured in a lot of different ways. The guests we invite are members of our brain trust, as well as our own curated thoughts and insights, such as ones I'll share with you today. And the only thing better than a light bulb moment is to have a light bulb moment that turns into a string of light bulb moments, a string of light bulb moments through multiple individuals having the same light bulb moment and collectively and collaboratively working forward to do something with the light bulb moment. You literally can move mountains with the right light bulb moments and the right people that are collaborating together to move it forward. At Cunity, I can give you a handful of light bulb moments that help define where we are today. 2 to 10 started with a light bulb moment. I can tell you when and where. It was on a couch during a break at a PBA session many years ago, where a former colleague of mine, I myself was a multi-location owner, had said, Tom, multi-location is different. They have a different business model. They have different metrics. They have different needs. They have different challenges. That was the beginning of 2 to 10. We basically created a category within the beauty industry that was, many had referred to it as small chains, whatever, but we coined a phrase, we coined a segment of the marketplace called 2 to 10. And here we are in the 13th year. Started with the light bulb moment. Financial literacy, what we're doing with school, started with a light bulb moment. It wasn't mine. It was Robert Passage of Pivot Point, who called on June 7, 2020, and said, we really need financial literacy for students. We'd like you to curate the program. It's a second light bulb moment. Third one is really about data. We did a little data project last year with a handful of salons, ended up being about 50, and then it ended up being about 100, and the rest is history. The light bulb moment was that there's some really bad data out there, and bad data is affecting many, many people, and it's creating disempowerment for many people to have data out there that doesn't tell the full story. For example, on earnings in a very special career, the career of beauty and wellness. Then the final light bulb moment that also maybe brings us to today is it was about, I would say, 6 years ago, I was invited to help a couple of business owners, two partners, business partners and life partners, that knew that at some point in time they needed to be intentional about the transition of their business, and it wasn't just going to be left alone. They would be like most people. They would probably end up in a state where they didn't get what they wanted out of their business. They weren't able to sell their business. They weren't able to see it go on to the next generation, and they weren't able to tap into the opportunities with the next generation. Those are really 4 light bulb moments that really defines where we're at today. And you, I know, have your own light bulb moments that turned into mega light bulb moments and spurred action. So with these podcasts and creating this forum to really identify and stimulate with light bulb moments, we hope that will spur you into action. I saw a statistic last week, and it was from a Harvard study that really determined with, I believe, if I get this right, with 99% of success, at least we'll leave it at that, 99% of success boils down to one key factor: your reference group, who you hang with. Check the study out. It's widely publicized, et cetera. So by attracting a community of growth-minded professionals that are driven by impact and income, we really feel that your reference group, collectively we can level up our reference group so that we can collectively have our own light bulb moments that turn into mega light bulb moments that turn into really cool products and services and all of that kind of stuff. And so now what I want to do next is really get to the episode that I want to focus on today. So that's a little bit about light bulb moments, a little bit about these episodes, podcast and YouTube. Let's get to next September. All right. So September it seems like every September, when I'm during one of the episodes, usually in August or September, I do at least briefly speak to the importance of September from a planning standpoint and how it's really the second new year. And so I want to give you some examples about the power of September. And I'm also going to give you some personal light bulb moments that I've had, et cetera. But so September is a great month for business. And let me tell you exactly where it may not be the best month for business from a sales standpoint, but it's the best month for productivity. All right, new statistic for you. Here's a study after analyzing 28 million tasks. Workers are most productive in the fall. September, October, and November are the most productive of all. On average, workers get 20% more done in fall compared to winter. It's also considered by many to be the best month to start a business. Now, from a planning standpoint, and so let's unpack this a little bit here. September and why it's so important, and make it a little more tangible for you. It really is a great transition month. And one of the important things in life that really doesn't get discussed very much is the importance of transition periods, days, stages, whatever. Transitions are very important. And September is a massive transition month. I mean, it's back to school. All right. Summer vacations are over. We're saying goodbye and we're saying hello. Many of us are through our summer vacations. Up here in Minnesota, the public outdoor pools start to close. And so, September is a natural month of transition for all of us. We're just used to it, whether it's for 13 years of our life or however we're in school. We're all used to kind of going back to school and that transition month. Well, a lot of that carries on to business and the professional life where we're wired for that transition period. So that's why many businesses refer to it as the second new year. There is an article that is by Jennifer Walker. And as she says that she hears it all the time and sees a shift happening in September. The warm summer months are drifting away and there's a resurgence of energy as we move into fall. Along with the new routine, we find new ideas, new rituals, new goals, new life. The law of rhythm is truly in play. So while this is true in our personal lives, it manifests very strongly for entrepreneurs in the world of business. It's almost like the cooler air gives us a chance to breathe, and hopefully the space you gave yourself during the summer allowed for creativity to flow. So now I've had some major transitions in the month of September, and I'm going to give you 4 of them. And in the future, perhaps we'll unpack these a little bit more. So I always celebrate, now it's like a ridiculous number of decades. I'm not actually going to say how many years just because I don't want to. But when I was 25 years old on September 3rd, 1982, all right, I gave you the math there. I left a big box CPA firm, now known as PricewaterhouseCoopers. And it was a big light bulb moment that spurred action for me. It was not a very common thing for a CPA to go off on their own and become a freelancer at the age of 25 after 2 years experience. But I really didn't find my creativity flourishing. I really wasn't working with the type of clients I wanted to work with. I didn't want to work with big culvert companies and oil and gas, and I wanted to work with entrepreneurial companies. So I took things under my own hands. And my big light bulb moment was at that stage in my life, which was someone that was very, very driven by adventure and exploring the world and doing stuff like riding freight trains across the country. What I learned was that accounting is a very seasonal business, that I could use that to my advantage. And so I realized that I could make more money working on my own during the busy season rather than employed at a big firm like that. And, so my light bulb, risky move, not normal. And so I went off on my own. I became a contract basis accountant. I was a solopreneur for 8 years. Now, I really loved being a solopreneur at that point in my life, but it did lead to me becoming an entrepreneur and then an entrepreneur. But at that stage in my life, it worked for me, and not everybody's wired to be a solopreneur. I was at that stage in my life, and it really became the beginning of a lot of other things that really manifested, helped me gain confidence later in life when I became an entrepreneur. And it also allowed me to really do things that were very important to me, that built my own wealth. Remember, wealth is not always measured in money. I had a wealth of experiences, relationships. And so that was a big light bulb moment at the age of 25, when I went off on my own. Number two, after being in beauty distribution for 4 years, I really was drawn to being an educator and to being an advisor. And so I planned a long transition out of beauty distribution. And I started a business that really was about education and advisory services, that bits and pieces still remain within the Qnity footprint today. And now, in companion with that, the second day that I started my education and advisory, it was called TKO Services back then. Some of you might even remember that. The second day that I started my education advisory services, TKO, I joined the Strategic Coach Program and really learned from Dan Sullivan, who I don't even know how many decades later is still relevant and is one of those, you look at like the physical trainers of elite athletes, like, oh, so-and-so, there's a guy by the name of Glover, I think, and he coached Michael Jordan and all these other people. So he's really like the elite athletic coach. Well, that's Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan's like the elite entrepreneurial coach. And at the age of, I think, 79, he's as relevant as he was many decades ago when I joined it. But that light bulb moment of going off to be an educator, be an advisor, and then knowing that there's a lot I didn't know, joining a community, the strategic coach was a really big light bulb moment for me. And again, a lot of what I've tried to bring to Qnity is that level of coaching, that level of thinking, that level of expertise, and make it accessible and to certain underserved markets. So those are really three big light bulb moments for me. Some of them going back several decades. So now back to the month of September, and really looking at why that's such a good year or a good time of year to create massive results in your business. And so before I give you, I'm actually going to give you 4 different tips as it relates to the currency of time. So 4 very tangible things that relate to planning or planning system, et cetera. Give me a minute, we'll get to that. So moving into September and moving from, in my case, sort of an end of summer vacation into September is another area of transition. And I was reading this super interesting article about sometimes you really do need a vacation to recover from your vacation. Can any of you relate? If so, please put it in the chat. Can any of you relating with needing a vacation to recover from your vacation? The kind of vacations that I take tend to be active vacations. We tend to do a bunch of stuff. This particular year, I don't want to bore you with my vacation, but it was a very special vacation. It was a road trip, 15 days, 14 nights, 3,500 miles, family, friends, all over. I mean, it was an amazing road trip for another day. Okay. But I did feel, in spite of doing certain things to allow for a transition, that the reentry period is something that many underestimate. And they say, oh, I'm going to be gone. In my case, I was going to be gone, 15 days and jump right back in, well, you don't jump right back in. And sometimes you do need a vacation to recover from a vacation. And, sometimes vacations can be stressful. And in my particular case, it wasn't stressful. It was an awesome 2 weeks, and it really was very low stress. But so long periods of work exertion mixed with short periods of rest, then ramping up to exertion, it can result in a different kind of burn, which is burnout. So one of the things that consider doing as you have a summer vacation or any vacations is the recovery period. And there's this feeling, many, that the guilt, and so you get back, now you have this long to-do list and all of that. Says research says that planning of post-vacation leisure activities can help prolong the fade-out period if it encourages relaxation. So anyway, so I'm specifically speaking not necessarily to September, but really the idea of vacations. So, and reentry for greater productivity. All right, now I'm going to get to 4 different insights on the currency of time and how that relates to September, and just common things that we hear when it relates to planning and all of that. All right. So again, September is a great month for planning. It's a great month for launching new initiatives. And it's also a great month to sort of, back to vacation after vacation, is extend the pause a little bit. So in September, it's good to just take some time at the beginning of September to resettle, extend the pause. If you have an active family with kids in school and stuff, you know what I mean? Just take that time to get settled in. So I'm going to get to a few different topics related to planning and September and our planning system. Okay. So first of all, let's really talk about the importance of planning. Planning equals profits. We did a study several years ago, and many in the 2 to 10 project wanted to find out what was the difference between those that has measurably higher profitability. What was the X factor? So why did salon X do better than salon Y? What were the qualitative factors? Well, what we determined was that planning was the qualitative factor, and it was the most measurable area of difference between high and low profit. So to be blunt with all of you, planning equals profits. Now, does planning happen? Planning generally doesn't happen. A very small percent, and we have data on this, a very small percent actually do the basic plans needed in a business. An operating plan, which is essentially what the team is going to do to move forward the 5 functions of the business. And then there's plans within an operating plan, such as a budget, a capital spending plan. So there's more than one plan in a business. It's important to really break them down, which most businesses, they don't do. They confuse the difference between a strategic and an operating plan, for example. Now, so planning equals profitability. Very few are actually planning. For those that do plan, only 13% actually execute their plan. But we also know that humans do well with the chunking of time. And think about the invention of the clock. It was a craving to really create structure around time. And we do well with chunks of time. We do well chunking times and creating rhythms. And remember, structure equals freedom. So second insight, beyond planning equals profitability, few actually do it, it matters, and the need to chunk time. The second is, when do you sync your plan with others, and when do you have your own plan? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to break this one down. So we have multiple planning systems that fit within an overall planning system for small businesses. And it's the crux of the execution SBO workshop that's coming up. And it uses a lot of planning research, and more importantly, it uses planning tools and training and practices to allow you to become more profitable, have a better competitive edge, and a great culture. So we have multiple planning tools, with probably the most popular, it's becoming the most popular, is our 13-week planner and tracker. So I'll give you an example of when you really, how you use that as an organization, as an individual. So I'm a total believer in syncing up plans as a team. It's really the only way that you can move forward, is to follow the same rhythm, the same dates, and to move it together as a team. So I do that, I support that, teach that, et cetera. But then even within that, what I find is sometimes I have my own planning sessions within that. I might have a little different dates. Like, for example, there's certain natural dates that that apply to an individual, such as myself. So I have had three 13-week plans this year, and they've had dates leading up to significant milestones. For example, the first planning period for me this year, other than being part of the overall planning process, was really leading up to the fill. So it kind of goes back to, I think it was a February vacation I took. And it was right after that, it was 13 weeks leading up to fill. And it was super productive. There was a ton of strategic byproducts that came out of it. Very, very results driven. Then there was a pause after the fill. Then I started another 13-week period that I knew would end right at the end of my summer vacation. It would start right now, because I knew for me, for my own personal productivity, I like to start something at the beginning of September. So I had one at the beginning of the year. Then we had one started in right after the fill and moved up to the end of August. And then I'm on my next one. And I'm super excited about having a really, really productive and awesome fall here, and hopefully my best 13-week period of the year. So I think sync up as a team, but then also establish your own dates based upon some rhythm that might occur for you. So that's the second tip. Third is know when to go tech and when to go tactical. So in working with creative right brain professionals and being exposed to major complicated planning systems, and see a failure of anybody to do any planning, we've created a series of grid-based tools that really help facilitate the planning process. And now, when you're collaborating, face-to-face has a huge advantage of any other medium. And also moving pen to paper, from your head into the pen, into the paper, creates a qualitative factor. So we use a combination of tactile tools and technology tools, and know when to use each. The whole idea of using your hand and using paper for planning is something that has become a lost art. But when you peel the onion and look at top performers and those that really are achieving extraordinary results, you'll find that many of them still use the hand to write, to take notes. And I want to give you a very timely example. So I'm I'm watching a new Netflix series. It's called Quarterback. And maybe some of you are watching it, and it profiles 5 different NFL pro quarterbacks, and including Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is a young, uber talented, very creative quarterback that just has a knack for winning championships. Anyway, they had an episode on the mental part of the game, and the mental pressure on these quarterbacks is incredible. The plays they have to learn and all that stuff, and split set reaction. So what he does is he actually takes the plays, and he puts them on an iPad, and then he writes them down. not just once, but twice, because he knows that it's going to stick with him. He can read it on an iPad or something, but when he writes it down, and then writes it down again, that somehow imprints. It may be a lost art, but not to the top in their fields. So know when to go tech and when to go tactile. For example, we would never do a company calendar on a grid-based tools. Of course, we use, you use the electronic tools to your advantage, but don't lose the tactile element of planning. Then the final thing I really want to get to as it relates to keys to planning is the importance of 13. In studying small business operating systems and the most successful programs that guide the most successful entrepreneurs, including 3 of them, the Strategic Coach, the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and Scale Up by Vern Harnish, all 3 of them have been around for decades, and they're as relevant as they ever would, as they ever have. And probably one of the common denominators, they all have a quarterly rhythm. All have a quarterly rhythm. Strategic Coach even goes far to say, look out 25 years. And if each quarter, each 13 weeks, you make a jump, so 25 years, 4 jumps a year, you have 100 jumps in your business. It's strategic, it's intentional, it's practical. And we lean in on 13 weeks. And in fact, it's even the theme of the Phil this year. So 4 insights on September and 4 insights in the currency of time. Remember, planning is profits. Next, know when to sync up and when to go solo. Next is know when to use tech and when to be tactile. And finally, 13 is the key. All right, here we are at the time of this session that I had intended to end. I'd love to hear any comments you have. The next week, we have a great guest, and this guest, without revealing who it is, he is an expert, he's an author, and he is really going to unpack the importance of moments. So it's a good segue into next week's episode. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week. Thanks, of course, to our sponsors, Lightheart Sanders, as well as Ally Health, what they offer. And I want to thank members of our team and thank everybody for helping to make this possible. And most importantly, thanks to all of you. I hope you had some light bulb moments this week, and we'll see you next week live and in color. Thanks, everybody. I'll stick around for a minute and read the chat, and we'll see you soon.